Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the presiding officer, Chief Scientist, Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center, Colonel Clark Allred, the men and the women of the Air Force Office of Scientific Research, International Science Division, and the European Office of Aerospace Research and Development, welcome to the retirement ceremony honoring Colonel D. Brent Morris after 31 years of outstanding service to his country and the United States Air Force. We are pleased you are here with us to share in this important milestone. I am Lieutenant Colonel Melanie Prasuto, and I will be your Master of Ceremony for today's event. Today, you will witness one of the oldest and most traditional ceremonies in the military, the retirement ceremony, which honors members as they retire from a long and honorable career in service to their nation. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the playing of the British and American national anthems. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Attending today's retirement ceremony is Colonel Morris's spouse, Natalie. Joining us virtually are their children, Brenner, Conry and his wife, Nikki, Raven, Taryn and his girlfriend, Lindsay Hahn, and Ilea, along with their granddaughter, Katerina, Colonel Morris's parents, Robert and Barbara Morris, and Natalie's parents, Tom and Pat Shipp. Also joining us virtually from AFOSR headquarters in Arlington, Virginia, the Director, Air Force Office of Scientific Research, Dr. Sherry Welsh. The Chief Scientist, Air Force Office of Scientific Research, Dr. Pat Roach. The Deputy Director, Air Force Office of Scientific Research and Commander, AFRL Detachment 14, Colonel Michelle Avey. The Commanding Officer, Office of Naval Research Global, Captain Matt Farr. Representing the Director, U.S. Army Combat Capabilities Development at Command Atlantic, Mr. John Brame. We are also happy to have in attendance, whether in person or virtually, all other leaders, friends, and colleagues of Colonel Morris. A retirement ceremony represents the culmination of a long and distinguished career in service to the United States Air Force. It also pays tribute to the sacrifices and professional excellence that have been traditionally key to the greatness and at times the survival of our United States of America. Additionally, like so many service members have done in the past, Colonel Morris has faithfully served along our allies and mission partners that have helped shape the world in which we live. Your presence today not only manifests your appreciation for Colonel Morris's service, but also reflects your sincere wishes for a tranquil and rewarding future for him and his family. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's presiding officer, Colonel Allred.
Well, I guess good afternoon, everyone. This morning here in Albuquerque, I'm really glad to be able to join you. It's a real honor to be asked to participate in an important event like this for someone that's so important to so many of us. And as is traditional, I'm going to take down, of course, the chronology of Colonel Morris's career. But first, I wanted to just acknowledge that this ceremony isn't just about him and his accomplishments. It's about his colleagues that have been there with him. It's most of all, it's about his family that has been on this journey with him. Okay, then this family is obviously, for anyone that knows him, is the center of who he is and what he's about. And chief among them is, of course, his wife, Natalie. You know, they've got a real special partnership, and they've shown just amazing dedication in raising their 5 children. What's more, they're best friends, like I've rarely seen in a couple. They love each other's company. They support each other in their endeavors. They take interest in what the other is interested in. And after all this time of marriage, they continue to make each other laugh. And that's something that's just pretty amazing. In fact, I think that Colonel Morris has agreed to all this pomp and circumstance mainly as a way to honor his family and to recognize what they're about. So with that in mind, I'm going to begin the story of his career with the origins of his family. Okay, and one of the things that Natalie and Brent share is a curiosity. That's one of their, I guess for me, that's one of their defining characteristics, and a willingness to work hard to satisfy that curiosity. So it's very fitting that their relationship began in a school, junior high school, in fact, where they went steady for 3 days. All right, before Natalie probably sensing just exactly how serious this relationship was destined to become, put the brakes on it. And so then they broke up. They remained friends, good friends. And after the 10th grade, they got back together as a couple. Okay, all this despite having been separated, having to go on to separate high schools. So nearing the end of high school, they determined to stay together, and they had a path to do that at the Air Force Academy, where Natalie had an appointment. And Brent was able to, you know, he had plans to join her there via the prep school. That got shot down when, you know, a medical disqualification intervened. And so then they had to hastily revector to attend Arizona State University, which is a school where Brent had applied to. I understand that Natalie had no backup plans. She was going to the academy. And so they ended up going there both to study the same subjects, actually, nuclear engineering and Russian. They got married partway through there. So by my calculation, that's like 33 years ago or so that they've been married. That's congratulations on that. So upon graduating from college, all right, they were not able to go active duty immediately, and he had to get a job in industry there. So he got some actual hands-on experience as a nuclear engineer before going active duty at Kirtland. And so his first job at Kirtland was extremely interesting, but even more interesting to me, actually, just from a career management point of view, is it's very rarely has the Air Force, I think, ever matched up somebody's training so well to the job they had to do, right? He had studied nuclear engineering in Russian, and his first job was to help work the first post-Cold War Russian technical interchange. So getting to apply that Russian expertise, getting to apply his nuclear engineering expertise, because what it involved was moving the entire contents of a laboratory in St. Petersburg over to Albuquerque to do testing of a thermionic nuclear space power system. And so well done, Air Force, for putting him in that role. And then he got to stay there for another couple of years in Albuquerque to get his master's in nuclear engineering. So, I mean, all that's exciting, a lot of stuff to happen in Kirtland, but that's not actually the most exciting thing that happened for their family there, right? The most exciting thing that happened is that they had their first two children, Taryn and Conry, were born there. Okay, so then they move on from there to Colorado Springs to teach at the Air Force Academy, and that's not that's also right. I mean, that's a cool thing to do, but it's not the most exciting thing that happened to them there either. Okay, the most exciting thing I think that happened to them there was that they went from a family with two children to a family with 5 children in under 2 years, right? Through quite a dramatic adventure of adopting Ilea and Raven, having the birth parents take them back, or I guess attempting to adopt them, having the birth parents taking them back, Natalie getting pregnant, and then eventually winning the children back and getting and then giving birth to Brenner. So that's quite a lot to do during one tour. And then with those 5 children, they move on to DC, where he served with the Air Force Scientific Advisory Board. Followed that with a PhD at AFIT. I did some Googling to try to figure out what the thesis was about. I did see, I think from his resume probably, that it dealt with the composition of radioactive fallout. I couldn't find a trace of it online. I assume that's because it's probably classified, is my guess. But I did find his master's thesis, which is a good read. So it's about tacitrons, which for those of you who aren't familiar, is a type of thyrotron, but just incorporates grid control. It pretty much reads like Star Trek fan fiction. I mean, I did find the plot hard to follow, and the character development was pretty much non-existent, but I do give it 4 stars. And so you can find it on Google. The PDF is available. So then after graduating with his PhD, he returned to USALFA for another tour as the director of core programs for the physics department, and then volunteered to go serve in Afghanistan, mentoring faculty at a university there on curriculum development. And then back to USAFA for another tour as director of faculty development for the whole university. So after that, went to DITRA and did a tour there in contingency operations, developmental planning, and then a very, very long tour in nuclear forensics, where I got to work with him for the second time after having crossed paths at the academy. And then following that, of course, you know and love him in his current role as the directing international cooperation in research for AFRL, where I understand he's done quite a few important things, like oversee the establishment of new offices across the world. So all that is a very long list of accomplishments to be expected. I guess more assignments. I didn't really talk about his accomplishments. And I guess I glossed over those, right? He picked up a lot of honors along the way, things like outstanding academy educator. But those aren't the things that really stick in my mind. And I don't think those are the things that really stick in the mind of the people that got to work with him. Those aren't the things that impress me most about him, even though those are very impressive, honestly. What impresses me most about Brent is his caring for the people that are around him, for his family, for his colleagues, for his subordinates. He makes the people around him feel like they matter. And so, additionally, something that strikes me about him is that he has wide and ever evolving interests. He's eager to do new and interesting things. He keeps bees, right? He's a foodie. He's got a great sense of humor. He loves the outdoors. And at the end of this long and distinguished career, it's really those things that are going to stay with me, and I think with those that have had the privilege of working with him. So with that, now we wish him and his family luck in their post-Air Force endeavors. It's been a true pleasure to work with him and for him. And I, for one, hope that after the Air Force active duty experience, that we're going to be able to continue to stay in touch. So with that, over to you, Colonel Presiding.
Thank you, Colonel Allred. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the Legion of Merit. Citation to accompany the award of the Legion of Merit to Colonel Douglas Brent Morris. Colonel D. Brent Morris distinguished himself by exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding service to the United States as Site Commander and Director of the International Division, Air Force Office of Scientific Research, Air Force Research Laboratory, Air Force Material Command, London, United Kingdom, from 15 August 2018 to 31 August 2021. In this assignment, Colonel Morris expertly led 46 subject matter experts in 4 geographically separate units, advancing the Secretary of the Air Force's Science and Technology 2030 Global Presence Vision. His superior leadership, exemplary foresight, and ceaseless efforts resulted in the successful execution of 529 basic science research grants in 49 countries, executing $74 million in world-class research for the Department of the Air Force. Moreover, Colonel Morris expanded the Air Force Research Laboratory's global reach by standing up a joint service innovation space with the United Kingdom's Defense and Security Accelerator, leading academics, key industries, and non-traditional partners. Furthermore, he established a new research liaison office in Brazil and Australia to leverage the world's leading defense-based innovation ecosystem. As Site Commander, Colonel Morris provided support and services for over 150 Air Force, Army, Navy, and Canadian service members, civilians, contractors, and local nationals, while establishing clear lines of authority with the 501st Combat Support Wing to assist dozens of organizations spread across southern England. His tireless efforts overcame a 13-year deficiency, winning the coalition site official designation as a geographically separated unit and securing critical funding, slashing the office's annual operation and maintenance needs by $400,000 per year. Finally, Colonel Morris set the standard for responding to the coronavirus pandemic, safeguarding hundreds of personnel while simultaneously answering the research call to arms with $450,000 in disease propagation, analysis, and personnel readiness studies. The superior initiative and outstanding leadership displayed by Colonel Morris culminate a long and distinguished career in the service of this country and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Air Force. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, we will hear from some of Colonel Morris's colleagues. Lieutenant Colonel Logan Mayu, AFOSR Chief of Staff and AFOSR EORD International Program Manager.
Hello, everyone. And sir, it's a real pleasure to be able to speak on your behalf. It seems like an eternity ago, but Colonel Morris and I arrived at the same time here in London in August 2018. He took command and I diligently went to work for him as his deputy site commander. And during our first year, we actually went to work. We spent nearly every single day together, all morning, all evening. And every meeting and every event that we attended, afterwards, we'd compare notes, identify problems, and make long lists of things to work on. And it was really a rewarding time. It was also a bit trying on more than one occasion, but all the while, Colonel Morris patiently spent countless hours, and I mean hours and hours and hours, mentoring me and helping me along as a young lieutenant colonel. During this time, I was also able to witness firsthand one of my favorite qualities about Colonel Morris, and one that I think endears him to us all, and simply that he cares tremendously for his people and the people that work for him. On numerous occasions, I've seen him go out of his way to check on us, to see what each of us thought about a new idea or plan or program, and he would always let us know that we could come to him to discuss any issues or concerns. In fact, even today, when Colonel Morris arrived, he came into my office and checked on me. I want to say hi and thank you and see how I was doing. So thank you, sir. Lastly, I think it's also really important to recognize all that he accomplished during his command here. He transformed an ad hoc international office into a proper division. He succeeded in getting Blenheim Crescent recognized as an official geographically separated unit, and even secured 9 years of free office space for us at the Imperial College Innovation Hub. Each of these on their own are a major undertaking that literally took hundreds of hours and dozens of meetings and phone calls to accomplish. Without Colonel Morris's steadfast determination and perseverance to see each of these through, they certainly would have never happened. Colonel Morris has truly made the International Division the gem of AFOSR and a marvelous place for us all to work. For me, all the members of IO, past, present, and the future ones are indebted to you as well. Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Colonel Mayu. Dr. Jermont Chen, Chief of the Asian Office of Aerospace Research and Development, sent this memory. Allred got to know Colonel Morris really well on his first visit to Japan. We were all in the Allred van headed out to the US Embassy to get the Japan country brief from our embassy rep. Unfortunately, that same day, President George H.W. Bush passed away and all federal employees were given the day off. We did not know this at the time. We didn't get the email and spent 45 minutes trying to reach our contact while waiting in the van, also called the Killbox Man Trap, in front of the US Embassy. So we did a virtual introductory meeting in our Allred van for those very long 45 minutes before we bailed and went to a research workshop. Dr. Jason Foley, AFRL Materials and Manufacturing Directorate, provided the following. You ready? There are so many words to describe Colonel Morris since he's such a groovy, chill, laid-back leader. So many, in fact, that I was able to use them to create a backronym, which is an acronym where you start with the acronym and then make the meaning fit. Brent Morris is a B, beekeeping, as in all us IPO bees buzzing around trying to sting him with mortgages. R, Russian speaking, da, tovarish. Did I say that right? E, engaged, as in awareness, engagement, relationships, but always with his people first. N, as in nerdy, aren't we all? T is in teaching of current and future leaders. M, as in multinational, where doesn't he have a passport stamp from? O is in organic and free range. R is in respected by all who meet him, and R in respectful of all he meets. I is in intelligent. They don't give away PhDs in a Cracker Jack. And S is in servant in so many ways over so many years. He will be missed tremendously. Now I'd like to welcome up Mr. Davey Cruz, AFOSR, Allred Stinfo and IT Specialist.
Thank you. I don't have remarks, so we're just going to go off the cuff. Everybody's had some amazing things to say about Dr. Morris and Colonel Morris, his leadership, scientific, international. I'm going to bring it very, very small for a moment, and I want to talk to you about my wingman, Brent. So when I first got here, and Brent and Natalie, Brent and Natalie helped me find a place to live. I didn't know where I was going to live in this city, and they were like, hey, we live in Marleybone. This is a pretty nice neighborhood. Maybe you should live here too. And so I moved down the road. And over the first year, we got to know each other and we hung out a little bit. And then the lockdown happened. And for those of you that were here during the lockdown and you know what it was like, it was a tough time. And so these people became my bubble. The first day of lockdown was March 23rd. That was my birthday. I had planned on taking it off. I was going downtown and having a steak dinner and lots of scotch by myself. And that didn't happen. That got canceled. And Natalie made me a chocolate cake. And it was amazing. And I didn't have to spend my birthday alone. And that was fantastic. And then a year later, March 23rd came around again and we were still in lockdown. So for my second lockdown, Natalie made sure that we had a fantastic outdoor picnic and some of the other people from Central London got to come and join. And yeah, what Brent did was make sure that I didn't disappear because like all of us during lockdown, we all dealt with it in different ways. And sometimes I just sort of disappeared and I didn't maybe answer every email I should have, and I maybe didn't answer every phone call I should have. And at least 2 or 3 occasions, he had to reach out and say, hey, I haven't seen you on Instagram or WhatsApp or anything in a while. Are you all right? Do you need to talk? Do you need anything? So like Logan said, like Colonel Allred said, taking care of his people is such an important thing. So thank you. Thank you both very much. And thank you for all the way to the end of your career being a fantastic wingman.
Thank you, Davey. And finally, a few words from Ms. Sylvia Terrell, AFOSR Operations Management. Leaders encourage their people to have faith for success and to believe in themselves. Positive leaders empower people to accomplish their goals. Colonel Morris, you have checked all those boxes, and it has been my true honor, sir, to have worked with you and to help you accomplish your vision for IO during your leadership tenure as the director of the International Science Division. Sir, you are a phenomenal leader, phenomenal family man, and a phenomenal friend and colleague to all of AFOSR. May God bless you and Natalie and your entire family. Please keep spoiling that your beautiful baby girl, the apple of your eye. I am always a phone call away. And please keep in touch. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as we will now retire Colonel Morris. Sir, over to you.
Publish the order.
Attention to order. Department of the Air Force, Special Order Number AL-001021. Colonel Douglas Brent Morris is relieved from active duty, AFOSR IO and AFRL Det 16, Royal Air Force Blenheim Crescent, United Kingdom. Retirement effective 1 September 2021 per Air Force Instruction 36-3203 in the grade of colonel after 31 years, 3 months, and 19 days of service by order of the Secretary of the Air Force. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Except you, sir. On behalf of Colonel Allred, Lieutenant Colonel Mayu will now present Colonel Retired Morris with his retirement certificate of service, which commemorates his active duty career. It reads, Certificate of Retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America. To all who shall see these presents, greeting. This is to certify that Colonel Douglas Brent Morris, having served faithfully and honorably, was retired from the United States Air Force on the first day of September, 2021. Signed, Chief of Staff, United States Air Force, and the Air Force Research Laboratory Commander, Major General Heather Pringle. Natalie, will you please join your husband on stage? Natalie received her certificate of appreciation from the United States Air Force. It reads, in grateful appreciation, the United States Air Force presents this certificate of recognition to Mrs. Natalie Morris for the commitment and numerous contributions that made positive impact to the nation's defense. Thank you for the support which gave strength and purpose to your spouse's service. Signed, Chief of Staff of the Air Force and the Air Force Research Laboratory Commander, Major General Heather Pringle. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now witness the flag folding ceremony. For more than 200 years, the American flag has been a symbol of our nation's unity, as well as a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show respect to the flag and to express our gratitude to those individuals who fought and continue to fight for freedom both at home and abroad. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to Airman First Class Genesis Santos Acevedo and Airman First Class Alexi Rebole, as they ceremoniously fold the retirement flag, honoring Colonel Morris and his dedication to our nation. It is a time-honored tradition to fold a flag during a member's retirement ceremony. The origins of this tradition are unknown, but its significance remains the same. The folding of the flag represents the culmination of a career in service to the United States Air Force. The flag is then proudly displayed to serve as a reminder of the significant journey that has concluded, but welcomes the beginning of a new one. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. Between 1777 and 1960, the shape and design of the flag evolved into the flag presented before you today. The 13 horizontal stripes represent the original 13 colonies, while the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardiness and valor, white signifies purity and innocence, and blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Traditionally, a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried the message of freedom and inspired Americans both at home and abroad. In 1814, Francis Scott Key was so moved at seeing the stars and stripes waving after the British shelling of Baltimore's Fort McHenry that he wrote the words to the Star-Spangled Banner. In 1892, the flag inspired Francis Bellamy to write the Pledge of Allegiance, our most famous flag salute and patriotic oath. In July 1969, the American flag was flown in space as Neil Armstrong planted it on the surface of the moon. Today, our flag flies on constellations of Air Force satellites that circle our globe and on the fin flash of our aircraft in harm's way in every corner of the world. Indeed, it flies in the heart of every airman who serve our great nation. The sun never sets on our U.S. Air Force, nor on the flag that we so proudly cherish. Since 1776, no generation of Americans has been spared the responsibility of defending freedom. Today's airmen remain committed to preserving the freedom that others won for us for generations to come. By displaying the flag and giving it a distinctive fold, we show respect to the flag and express our gratitude to those individuals who fought and continue to fight for freedom at home and abroad. Since the dawn of the 20th century, airmen have proudly flown the flag in every major conflict on lands and skies around the world. It is their responsibility, our responsibility, to continue to protect and preserve the rights, privileges, and freedoms that we as Americans enjoy today. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and to all. Long may it wave. Colonel Allred, over to you.
Colonel D. Brent Morris, on behalf of AFOSR International Science Division and AFRL Detachment 16, your friends and your family, you are presented with this flag in recognition of your 31 years of faithful service with the United States Air Force.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you Colonel Retired D. Brent Morris. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Oh, boy. Well, first of all, just a couple things up front. Thank you, everyone, for putting this on. We weren't sure this was actually going to take place, but it actually turned out to be perfect. So thank you, everyone here at Blenheim Crescent, for helping put this on. Second of all, those of you that are watching, the sun is out. It's always like this in London. So I don't know what anyone's saying about rain in London. So it's a beautiful day, and so thankful to have everyone here. Thank you to the extended family here at Blenheim Crescent that helped put this together, pulling this off. Thank you to all those that are tuning in near and far in various time zones. I really appreciate you doing that. It means a lot. And thank you for all the well wishes that we've already received via emails and text messages and phone calls. So thank you. Clark, thank you very much to take time out today to officiate. It means a lot to me. You've always been a great friend, colleague, and confidant. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you doing this today. What to talk about after 30 years? You know, it's hard. I guess I'm going to skip part of this just because Clark, you highlighted it and a few others highlighted it. You really nailed kind of who I am. I think what's important is the people, and everything else sort of follows. So, you know, you heard a lot about in my bio. You got to hear some of that, but bios and resumes just really only tell part of the story. And so in the spirit of the old Paul Harvey radio show, The Rest of the Story, I wanted to give you just a few examples of the rest of the story, a little snippets of my career. So bear with me for just a few minutes, would you? Let's see. So the first one I'd like to go over. So when I taught at the Air Force Academy, that's what my bio says. I taught at the Air Force Academy, and I was actually there for two tours. I was a pretty good instructor. They sent me to get my PhD. They invited me back to teach. But the rest of the story I wanted to give you was something in particular, and it happened, several times while I was there. My favorite course to teach at the Air Force Academy was Physics 215. That's General Physics 2. It's electricity and magnetism. I can tell you that the cadet population hates that class with a passion. It is by far the worst class, the worst reputation class. And at the time when I was there, cadets had to take a 2-course sequence of physics, and 215 was that second course. And it was pretty tough. And so everyone dreaded it. And one particular semester, I had 2 cadets come up to me at the end of the first class. They were terrified. They came up and they said, "Sir, we barely passed the requisite class, Physics 110. How in the world are we going to get through this?" I mean, they passed by the skin of their teeth. And I said, listen, Physics 215, it's a whole different thing. Conceptually, it's a different topics. You might find that you actually enjoy Physics 215. So we're in this together. Don't worry about it. And I said, the key is you got to come in here and work hard. And so first thing you should do is you should come in and sit in the front row. You guys were in the back row today. You should sit in the front row, stay after class, and we'll talk physics as long as you want after class. And so they started doing that. They showed up the next day in the front row. They worked really hard during the semester. They stayed after class fairly often. They started building up confidence. And it got to the point that within class, they became leaders. They would be the first to raise their hand. They would be the one that would turn to their peer and explain a concept. They would get really nervous with exams and study hard and come and ask me more questions. And at the end, they both received A's in Physics 215. And not only that, but they were in the top 40 out of over 1,000 students taking that course that semester. They worked hard. They did a great job. And once in a while, they'd show up at my office and, visit, and we'd talk and get caught up. And then I didn't really hear from them for about 2 years. And then it came time for them to graduate and get commissioned. And they showed up at my office door one day, and it was, it's very nice to see them, congratulations. And they both asked me to be the one to swear them in when they got commissioned. Huge honor. And I said, I would love to do that. And they said, sir, more than anyone, you really helped us be a mature learner. You set us up for the rest of our cadet career to be successful. And now we are very confident in moving into our next step in our Air Force career. Wow, very humbling. And so I guess my point in that is just, sometimes a little attentive nourishes inexperience and lack of confidence to enable someone to do something and to achieve something. So just keep that in mind. That's always been something that's been good for me. So another snippet I wanted to tell you about, you heard I volunteered to be deployed to Afghanistan. It was a great opportunity to go work with Afghan scientists, their teachers at their military academy. And I was very excited, enthusiastic. This is my thing. I can help the instructors, very altruistic. And I got there, and the first couple of weeks did not go well. I was enthusiastic, but the 16 faculty I was mentoring were not enthusiastic. They had seen a few people like me that showed up, that were there for a short amount of time, and then we left. And that's what they told me through an interpreter. It's like, yeah, whatever. You're going to be here, and then you're going to leave, after a few months. And it sounded like a challenge to me. And so what I would do is I made it a point to learn Dari, simple phrases. And I started in our morning meetings every morning. I'd come in with a new Dari phrase, and I'd mess it up the way to pronounce it, but they knew what I was saying, and it kind of broke the ice. And we made sure we had tea, and we made sure we talked about our families. And I had everyone go around the room each and every morning. Hey, what did you do last night? What did you learn yesterday? And it was my version of the 3 cups of tea of building relationships. And after a while, it started breaking the ice, and it actually worked, except for one instructor. There was this one instructor, and he didn't talk much. He didn't participate much. He rolled his eyes at the other instructors. And I asked one of the other instructors, I said, what's going on with him? And he says, well, he was a little bit older, and he says he's from Uzbekistan. And he worked with the Russians during the occupation. And he lost all of his family to Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. And he's basically homeless. The only thing he has is his uniform that he wears to work every day. And I thought, oh my goodness. First of all, in Afghanistan, they had it rough. But to be homeless in Afghanistan, that was tough. There wasn't much I could do. I tried to help him with his home situation, but he was very prideful and kind of wasn't accepting. But then one day, what I was trying to do with the instructors is I would go to their class, and I would video record them. And then we as a group would go over the video class and see what they did what was good, what was bad. And we'd all comment on it as a group. And it became his day to look at his class. And so I went there, and we're standing outside as the cadets are filing into the class, and it's very awkward. I'm trying to use my best Dari with him to ask him about the weather and ask him, how are you feeling? And, it was just very awkward. He would kind of smile, and he grunted a few times. And then it was very awkward silence. And then in the clearest Russian, he said, "Я желаю tu говоришь по-русски." And he didn't know I spoke Russian. And I heard it, and I said, "Я говорю по-русски." And he goes, oh, and he was shocked, and he grabbed me by the arms, and he hugged me, and he held me tight. And from that day forward, he literally hung on me in every meeting. He had his arm around me, and he's looking at everybody else. Look at us, we speak Russian, we're connected. Oh, you guys, woo. He was very excited. It completely changed his outlook. And we spent a lot of time speaking Russian and Dari, and he very much became involved. And I think what happened was he found that he had a unique bond with me, which he didn't have with the others. And that in turn bridged a gap that was there with the other faculty. And he became completely integrated with everybody else. It was really neat. So, something to learn from that. Everyone wants to feel valued and unique in their individuality. Sometimes we have to help each other to find it. So one more, bear with me here. If you read my bio or resume, you heard that I was at DTRA, or the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, or sometimes fondly called, did they reorg again? Because that happened quite a few times. I was there for 6 years as the division chief for the Nuclear Forensics Division. But I want to give you the rest of the story in one particular situation. There was a program manager there, a PhD engineer, that for various reasons had to be removed from one division and put into another division. And I didn't know this particular program manager very well, but I knew of them, and they had a kind of a bad reputation, not being able to get things done, not following through on work. But on paper, this program manager was fantastic. PhD, been in government service for a couple decades, mentoring new government employees. She came to me one day and told me that she has to move for various reasons. And I listened to her. She told me how she felt she was being mistreated and things like that. And so I went to my boss and I explained this to my boss. And I said, what's going on? And my boss just said, she's a bad apple. She doesn't get anything done. And I said, well, can I look at her performance evaluations that can give me a clue of where that's coming from? And surprise, there was nothing documented. It was just a reputational thing. She had been literally passed from division to division for over a decade, and no one documented anything. No one tried to help develop her. No one even told her, what was going on. And so, I talked to my boss about this, and he just said, listen, we're moving her to your division. No one wants her. And at first I was kind of like, well, I wasn't really, looking for that necessarily, but I said, okay. And so what I did with her is we dialed back her responsibilities. I gave her some very clear expectations and measurable expectations. And over the course of the next 2 years, she worked very hard, and she became a very productive member of our division and really having a big impact. And then shortly before I was leaving there in 2018, she got such a good reputation. Another division chief came to me and said, hey, can we get her to be on our team to fill this critical role? And I said, of course, she'd fit that fantastic. She'd do a lot of good. And just recently, a few weeks ago, I got an email from her. She emails me from time to time. She said she loves it in the division. She's got so many projects she's working on. She's really making an impact, still mentoring others. And so, the point is, everyone has something to contribute, and they want to. Sometimes we just have to find the right job that leverages their skill set. So my hope is that my rest of the story segments illustrate what has been most important to me in my Air Force career. That is, leadership is all about relationships, like people have said that I try to instill, and enabling others to reach their full potential. And for me, if you actually focus on that, the mission success naturally follows. I've seen it time and again. We're always so driven about mission. We got to do mission. It's really the people. Help the people to reach their full potential, and your mission will follow. I can guarantee it. So if I can take credit for anything, if I can claim any success or accomplishment or impact, it's only because of the people I worked with and the relationships I built with them. So thank you for those opportunities. So now, here comes the unsolicited advice from the old sage colonel that's probably been around way too long. From my experience, here's 10 things in no particular order I have found to be most useful when it comes to leadership and building relationships. Number one, leadership is not only at the top. Everyone at every level and every position has to be a leader to do in what they do to make the team most effective. So everyone's a leader. It's not just the top. Everyone needs to be considered a leader in their own duties. Number two, from Hamilton, talk less, listen and smile more. Everyone wants to be heard, and numerous diverse voices spur innovation and make for a better choir. Number three, my father taught me, many of you heard this one, my father taught me to return things you borrow in better condition than you received them. Rarely does someone work in one job for forever. And so we're actually only borrowing these jobs for a short period of time. And so for that reason, return it in better condition. Always work to make your job more efficient, document normal activities, issues, and intricacies, because at some point, someone will have to pick it up from where you left off. Number 4, this one might be controversial. Do not stay in your lane. Poke and prod in a positive way. Get to know everyone else's job as much as possible and ask questions and bring your different perspective. Your perspective is valuable. It's important to possibly increase efficiency or effectiveness in someone else's lane. So do not stay in your lane. Here's another one. Challenge comfort and norms, as these are often roadblocks to innovation and progress. Phrases like, and I hate these, phrases like, that's how we've always done it, or you can't do that, without a logical or legal reason, even if there is a legal reason, should be trigger challenge phrases for everyone. Okay. Be passionate. Number 6, be passionate about your job and compassionate toward those you work with. More likely than not, they have the similar ups and downs and baggage you do. Following the golden rule will never fail you. Number 7, this is an important one. No one is exempt from appropriate scrutiny. What I mean by appropriate scrutiny is that it is not necessarily negative or for tearing someone down. Remember, mentoring is two-way. It's lateral, that is to your peers. It's downward, that is those you may supervise. But most importantly, it is upward mentoring of those in charge in an appropriate setting and time with the intent to improve a situation, develop an individual, or improve an organization, or right a wrong. This is very important. Please have the courage to mentor those that should be mentoring you, lest there be a dereliction of leadership. Number 8, this next one goes hand in hand with the appropriate scrutiny and mentoring I just mentioned. When you make a mistake, own it, fix it, apologize if appropriate, and move on. 9, be vulnerable with those around you. Share and discuss the good and the bad. It is truly the best form of therapy, and it is the glue of human connectiveness and does wonders for trust and team cohesiveness. And number 10, say what you mean, do what you say, and follow through. That's enough advice for today. So let's get to some thank yous. Thank you to Natalie's folks, Tom and Pat Ship. Thank you for all your support you've given our family over the years in our comings and goings. You've made the journey all the more enjoyable and special. Thank you now, especially fostering our 2 old pups, Emmy Lou and Ellie Mae, who are 15 and 14. We miss them. You enabled us to be here completely untethered during this assignment, which afforded us so many opportunities to explore and experience. We can't wait to be closer to you and spend more time together. Thanks to my folks, Bob and Barbara Morris, for your patience with me as a challenging child and adolescent. Your love and care is very much a part of who I am and who I try to be. You are so fun to be around because you gush with such delight in your experience with others. I love that about you. We're so looking forward to being closer. And Mom, I'll steal a line from a friend of mine, Brian Quillen. Mom, this doesn't just happen. It's your last chance to see me in my uniform. Okay, our 5 kids, Taryn, Conry, Ilea, Raven, and Brenner. You had many challenges to face because of my jobs and moving on top of your own individual challenges. You in turn each provided plenty of challenges to Mom and me, for sure, in your own unique ways. And you know what they are. One of my greatest joys is to have all of you together and just marvel at how far you have all come. You all continue to impress me with your resiliency and the fact that you care so deeply about us and each other, and you took care of each other during COVID when we couldn't be there. Good job. Lindsay, Taryn's girlfriend, and Nikki Conry's wife, thank you for both reining in these Morris men and bringing balance to the force. Thank you very much. Good, strong men are made only by good, strong women. My babies, you all deserve recognition because the love and challenges you've given enabled me to grow, admit when I was wrong, apologize when I needed to, express love and compassion openly, and truly act silly whenever I want. You don't make me feel old, you keep me young at heart. I love you all very much, and I'm so proud of the individuals you've become. Thank you, thank you. Katerina, my granddaughter, our granddaughter. You are totes scrumptious and you can't possibly do anything wrong, but if you do, it's easy to give you back to your mom. I can't wait to read and play together and get more hugs and kisses from you. Mwah. Finally, Clark mentioned Natalie and I met in 7th grade, and I'm not gonna lie, I fell in love in 7th grade, Mr. Romantic. And it's true, we dated for a few days, and then she broke up with me, and there was a 7th grade choir, and my mom and dad were there. And after the choir, after we sang, I went up to my mom and I said, Mom, that's Natalie. I'm gonna marry her someday. And we were good friends all through junior high, and then in 10th grade, we went to separate schools, and we didn't see each other for a while. And then in between 10th and 11th grade, just one day, she walked by my house. And we haven't been away from each other since. So 16 years old, and then we've been together ever since. As my father-in-law so eloquently reminds me so often, I'm way over chicked. I get it. I understand. I totally admit it. So this beautiful woman is truly remarkable and smart. You probably didn't know that as an undergraduate in 1990 at Arizona State University, she graduated summa cum laude in both the School of Engineering for nuclear engineering and the School of Humanities for Russian language, summa cum laude in both schools. Incredible. You probably don't know that she has a master's degree in nuclear engineering. She got hers before me. However, Natalie chose a different path as our family grew. She was and still is our kids' best advocates. And her compassion and motherly instincts are what have truly made our family so close and what has gotten us through so many very challenging times. Compared to Natalie, I have always had the much easier job. I get to go to work, get separated, get away from it a little distance, interact with other people in a more social manner. She didn't get to do that as much. Natalie is my best friend and biggest cheerleader. She knows me better than I know myself. And you can bet that anything I've accomplished has been influenced by her counsel. Natalie, my love, you are a leader among leaders. You taught me to listen more effectively because you always listen to me. Your keen mind and Socratic method of questioning enable me to make better decisions. Your relentless advocacy for our kids' needs set the example of not accepting norms and applying appropriate scrutiny to people, policies, and procedures. All these and your love and compassion have made me a better officer, leader, mentor, husband, and father, but most especially a better man. Thank you, thank you. And today is just as much a celebration of your contributions and sacrifices over the last 30 years as they are mine. And that's the rest of the story.
Thank you, Colonel Retired Morris. The men and women of the United States Air Force are proud to have served with you. You will always be a valued member of our Air Force family. We wish you and your family every success in your future endeavors. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the Air Force song and the departure of the official party. Thank you for attending, and we invite you and to join us for refreshments and to congratulate the Morris family on their retirement. Have a wonderful rest of your day.